Welcome to the American Path. This is Emmanuel Williams, and here's where we are. The situation in Palestine is dire. Tonight we're going to put the Israel-Hamas war in focus, in context, in our right in front of our eyes. We're going to look at what's going on, what the situation is for the people, what the situation is for leadership, and what the ceasefire deal looks like on the eve of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech to Congress here in the United States, which will be met with many protests and a lot of boycotts and sit-outs. Already there's been a group of protesters who showed up in red at Capitol Hill in the Cannon Rotunda with signs and simply sat in as a boycott. The signs read, "Jews say stop arming Israel." And for this group of people to make their voices heard in such a way tells mountains about how little support Netanyahu may have at home for his brutal attack and treasonous. Treason is a strong word since he's the leader. His misguided, his vengeful, his illogical and brutal destruction of Gaza and the West Bank, trying to chase Hamas militants and only ending up killing Palestinians. According to the Associated Press, 39,000 Palestinians have died since the war began 9 months ago. As for the ceasefire, among the major sticking points is how to move from an initial temporary truce in the deal's first phase to a permanent ceasefire that includes an end to the fighting and full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Again, that's the Associated Press. One of the sticking points, not sticking points, but the biggest block to this deal is consequently two of the two leaders of these groups, of Hamas and of Israel. Should Benjamin Netanyahu end his campaign, we would get closer to a ceasefire sooner. But on the other side, Hamas's leader in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar, could bring his men out of the tunnels with hostages and give them back. Of course, it's a pretty picture. That's a utopian idea. There's no sense in that, because Sinwar fears for his life, because he's the mastermind behind October 7th, the attack on Israel that launched the campaign Netanyahu, is so ardent to complete. Right now, Sinwar is huddling in a tunnel, surrounded by hostages, happy about how many Israel murders, because it makes Israel look bad. And as a psychological function, this man has no ethics. This man has no morality. For he and his men to use human shields to the mounting number of 39,000 shows no conscience, shows no compassion, shows that they're not protecting Palestine at all like they thought they were. Hamas was supposed to be the war outfit for Palestine, and for a while maybe they did some good. I don't know. There's no record, honestly, that I've seen of Hamas valiantly defending the Palestinian people. As for Netanyahu's intentions tomorrow in his speech, with Houthis attacking from Yemen, with daily clashes in Lebanon with Hezbollah, and with a war of vengeance tearing through Gaza and the West Bank, chasing Hamas militants that has taken the lives of 39,000 Palestinians, Netanyahu says Israel will remain America's key ally in the Middle East, regardless of who they choose as their next president. Again, the Associated Press for Netanyahu's intentions. Before I get to my own deep feelings about the subject, I quote, "In this time of war and uncertainty, it's important that Israel's enemies know that America and Israel stand together." And I want to pause here because those are the words of Benjamin Netanyahu, reported by the Associated Press. And it seems like he feels that the relationship he has with America will protect him morally from what he's doing in Gaza and the West Bank. And I just want to say that as an American, that's not true. We are not the people who stand by or stand with evils such as this. We are not those who who take comfort in friendships with those who agree to such a deal with their enemy that every shield must die in order to kill the target, to kill the enemy, the true enemy. America takes innocent life much more seriously than that. As for the new presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, and her views on the war, honestly, it's best to wait until tomorrow, till either before or after Netanyahu's words. A speech I will watch. I will not sit that out, because what he says on our front lawn will color the rest of his words during this war. And there will be plenty of people not watching, not attending, boycotting, sitting it out. But if anything that Netanyahu says while he's speaking to Congress at that joint session is agreed upon by our leaders and taken as words of peace, or if the man speaks of peace, let him speak of peace. But if he does not deliver on it, we are not to believe him when he speaks of peace. Kamala Harris will be campaigning instead of attending. And according to the New York Times, she takes quite the issue with the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, which she placed at Israel's feet in a civil rights speech in Selma this year. I am a friend to the Palestinian plight, the Palestinian people. It is not my duty to ignore it. It is not my intention to turn away from the story. We have had a lot of news lately in our own country, but Palestine will always be on my mind. Freedom will always be on my mind. The safety of those who face oppression will always be on my mind. And so I will not ignore this subject. And going forward, you will hear a lot about the Middle East from me, because you will always hear about America from me. Good night, and good luck.